What's going on, welcome back to another video on my channel, Early Plays, and I know I didn't upload yesterday. That is because, mainly, I did have two videos scheduled to be made, not to be made, to be uploaded. However, due to the release of two new characters, I cannot release those videos. So, I'm having to redo them again because, I want it to be fresh and updated. So that's what we're doing today. So, the first video I planned was this video, which is going to be a tier list update, and the next video I planned, which was the best units to bring to every demon raid that is out currently. So obviously with the introductions of new characters, that's going to have to change now. So yeah. Anyway, see, yeah, that's the reason why I didn't upload on. No, wait, did I upload on Thursday? It's Friday today. On Thursday. So yeah. Also, before I do anything, I want to make some changes to the tier list. Hawk, I decided it's going to go S tier because I realised how good she is, and how helpful she can be. I think that's mainly it. I think for the changes, I think Hawk was the main change I wanted to make. Just double checking at any of these characters. Yeah, okay, right. I think that's fine with me. I think. Oh, and Jericho's going to go SS tier. Jericho's going to go SS tier above Meliodas. So yeah, because now the reason why I put Hawk S tier because now I've used her a lot. She's S tier for me, and the same with Jericho. I've used Jericho a lot on PvP, so she's been really good for me. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Since the release of Global, we have had 5 new characters being introduced. Which go from the Merlin to the Gotha and Gallant. So yeah, so to start off with, we have the green coin shop Merlin. Now she is incredible. She's absolutely insane for a lot of activities. Just in Grand Cross in general, because she's good in everything except for like PvE farming stuff. Basically, that's pretty much it. As shown by this as the unit rating here. So yeah, her first card is for Explosion. So it inflicts 120% up to 450% and can deplete 1 to 3 ultimate move gauges. Now this is really helpful on PvP because when she had released, she was released into a PvP meta where alt rush teams were a thing, where people would rush Diane's and King's ultimates with, like, I don't know, a third unit, probably Meliodas at that point or something like that. Yeah, and I did run alt rush team. I ran Diane, King, and the Green Elizabeth, and ran alt rush. And as soon as this Merlin came out, I stopped running that team because it became awful. So yeah. And also she cannot help alt rush teams as well because her passive fills all allies' ultimate move gauge by 1 orb. Doesn't make sense at the start of the battle, which was very handy, which meant people didn't have to run alt food or anything, or they could run alt food and not have to run the Elizabeth or something like that if they wanted to run alt rush. So that's why she's very good. Also her level 2 and 3 cards do a lot of damage as well, which is kind of surprising. Merlin can actually hit extremely hard for a very supportive unit. So yeah, that's that card on her passive. Next, we have the Perfect Cube, which creates a barrier equal to 150% up to 375% of her attack for 2 turns, which means when you run this Merlin, you don't run her HP and defense, you run her attack and defense, just so that you can get the maximum usage out of your Perfect Cube. Because, even if you did run HP and defense, yeah, that's going to make it even more tanky, but if you run attack and defense, your barrier is going to give you more defense than the extra HP gears would have. So it's going to be. So yeah, that's why you run attack and defense. Moving on to ultimate, 540 to 945% multiplier. Another ultimate and disables attack skills for 2 turns. It's not our ultimate; it hits very hard, especially because she has a very easy fate partner in Arthur. Because SR, Arthur is an SR, and the SSR Arthur is a coin shop unit, so really easy to get your hands on. So yeah. It does a lot of damage as well, which I think I just said. And yeah, Merlin is just really good. So I think for that, she's just gonna go. She's gonna go SS tier for me. I think she's really good. I'm tempted to put Meliodas down to S tier, and I think I will put him down to S tier now, just because you know, Meliodas was really good for the first few weeks of Grand Cross, but now isn't so great anymore. So yeah, yeah, that's why I think I'm gonna put Meliodas down here as well. So that's Merlin. Moving on, we now have the Coin Shop Barn. Now this guy at the moment is absolutely running PvP and probably will do for a very long time. Mainly because of this card here, the Snatch card, because he extorts 20 up to 50% of all enemies attack and defense for 2 to 3 turns, which is just incredible. So which means that this card can hit for a lot of damage. The Drain card, because he's, you know, stealing all of their attack and defense, he's going to be able to hit a lot harder due to the extra attack that he has and the less defense that the enemies have. So yeah, I mean, this barn is only really useful for 2 things: PvP and PvE farming. That's pretty much it. Because yeah, that's literally it. I see people running on Grey Demon. I'm just thinking, why? Why would you run him on Grey Demon? Because he doesn't really do anything on Grey Demon. Like, I'd rather run Jericho than that, and just because of her ultimate, there's a lot of damage to the Grey Demon, and that's it. So yeah, that's it with these 2 cards. His passive it's not really the greatest thing, to be honest, because it decreases all HP related stats by 10% at the start of the next turn if he doesn't take damage. And yeah, in PvP this is never going to happen because you're always facing AoE teams, like the AoE human team with like Hauser, Barn, or something like that. You got characters like Gallant now, which have AoE cards. Gotha has an AoE card. You know, all these really like common PvP units that all have AoE cards. Diane has an AoE card, all that stuff. So it's, yeah, that's why this passive is pretty much useless. It doesn't really do anything for Barn. Moving on to his ultimate, it's a 350% up to 600% multiplier, which extorts 50% of one enemy's attack and defense for 2 turns. So again, he's extorting 50% on one enemy, which is very good. Well, it's not very good. It's, to be honest, actually, I don't really like this ultimate. This ultimate's pretty bad for me. Oh, what the hell? In my opinion, I don't really like it. It's pretty bad. Like, it doesn't really hit too hard. It hits pretty decently hard, but not really the strongest ultimate in the game. But that doesn't really matter because just because of these 2 cards here and how good they work together. So for that reason as well, I'm gonna put Barn in SS tier with these characters here. Yeah, these 2 characters are just so good. Just because, you know, PvP is such a really good thing you need to be investing into, because if you can get a high amount of gems weekly, then you're going to be sat in a very good spot for the rest of the game, pretty much. Because weekly you're getting a constant flow of gems into your account, so it's very good. So moving on to the next character, one of the newest characters, we have Gallant, the very first 10 commandment that has been released to the game. In my opinion, I think Gallant at the moment is probably one of my favorite units in the game. Just simply because of, you know, I mean, I've used them a lot. If you didn't watch my summoning video for Gallant and Gotha, make sure you watch that. Obviously, spoiler alert, I did pull Gallant, and honestly, I level 70'd him straight away and got him 5-star, and yeah, he's been extremely helpful for a lot of content that I've been doing, especially for things like PvP as well, because if I didn't pull this Gallant, I would have been getting destroyed on PvP. Now the reason why Gallant is so good, well, actually there's numerous amounts of reasons why Gallant is good, because he has certain parts of his kit that just works really well. So first of all, you know, we'll start with his passive. So Gallant game coerces one enemy, which basically means that the affected target cannot activate debuffs when using skills, and may only attack Gallant as well. So this only happens for one enemy for that one battle, and when Gallant dies, that effect goes away, obviously, because Gallant's dead. Which is alright. Now, moving on to his commandment, when you or your enemy ranks up or ranks down skills, they get petrified for 2 turns, which is very good. So he's the biggest counter to the new Gotha that just got released. So, and seeing as Gotha is the best character in the game, he's literally the perfect counter for him. So that's why he's really good, and that's why this commandment is very, very helpful at the moment on PvP. So yeah, two really good passive abilities. I really like the Gallant game, especially when you get it on, especially when you pressure somebody like Jericho or something, because that means Jericho can't debuff you with a bleed card, and basically cannot, you know, do a lot of damage with her main attack card as weak point. So it's very, very helpful. There's had times where this passive literally just won me the game because their Jericho just couldn't do anything to me. So yeah. Now before I move on to his critical strike card, we have Wretched Scatter Strike, which is just a regular AoE, 68% to 170%, inflicts bleed for 2 turns. It's decent. It's not the greatest of cards, to be honest, but still I really like it because of just the fact that it's a debuff card. Because if you ever get times where you're running Jericho on your team and you don't get the debuff card, because normally when you debuff someone with your Jericho and they have King, they just cleanse it. So you can save this Gallant card and then use it, then you inflict bleed on literally everybody on the field, and then basically you can just choose whoever you want to basically destroy with your Jericho. Yeah, which is why this is very, very helpful in my opinion. Damage is pretty bad for it, but still, I just like it just because of the fact that it's an AoE debuff card, which is on the level 1 card as well, so it's very, very handy just for that. So now, moving on to his ultimate, we have Critical Over, which increases this hero's basic stat by 50% for 3 turns, and inflicts 420% up to 630% in a multiplier, and this hits pretty hard. However, the reason why this ultimate is so good is because of the fact that it increases his basic stats by 50%, and if you didn't know, his attack card Critical Strike, this is where literally Gallant becomes a monster after using his ultimate. Because he increases his basic stats by 50%, that's attack, HP, and defense, acts as 3 buffs. Because he has Amplify on his attack card, which means that for every buff that he has, he gets an extra 30% multiplier on this attack card, which means after ulting, he has an extra 90% damage dealt onto this attack card, onto the Critical Strike, which means he does a lot of damage. It's kind of crazy how hard this Gallant can hit. Literally, this Gallant hits harder on like the level 2 than his actual ultimate. That's how strong his ultimate is, and well, that's how strong his ultimate makes his attack card. Which is why, you know, he can pretty much one-shot a lot of characters in PvP, and why he's like really helpful for Red Demon, because on Red Demon he can hit harder than most characters. Literally, he can hit harder than Ellie Hawk, especially if you're running a very fast team to take out a Red Demon. Yeah, and Gallant is on my Red Demon team now, and he's been so good for Red Demon for me. Just simply because of the fact that I can just deal a lot of damage really quickly and just get rid of the Red Demon done. Because the Red Demon can take quite a long time if you don't have enough DPS, because of the fact that he has 3 hearts, so it can take quite a long time. So yeah, so I just run Gallant on my Red Demon team now alongside Ellie Hawk, and I literally just melt through with this Gallant. He's so good, very, very helpful, and he's a very good character overall. So I think for that reason, I know I've given him more praise than like any of these characters, but I don't think he's SS tier right now. Just simply because that a lot of the really good characters in this game are green characters, and they literally all counter this Gallant, especially Merlin, because with Gallant you want his ultimate, and Merlin just denies that, which is why I think he's S tier, but he's like the top of S tier for me. He's really, really good for me, in my opinion. But you know, that's what I don't know. You might have a different opinion. But later on, Gallant is going to fall off. He won't drop down to A tier. I very much doubt that. He'll probably always be like an S tier unit, because he's very, very helpful, especially with the Chapter 7 story mode, the Gotha boss. When I played JP, I couldn't do it for ages, for like a week, and then I did it first try when I had Gallant. I was like, oh, well, that was pretty easy. So that's why Gallant is really good. He's good for story mode. He's good for PvP. Good for death matches, especially the Red Demon. Not really Grey Demon. He has a good passive, massive output and damage after using his ultimate, and is a very good character overall. So moving on to the next character, we have undeniably the best character to ever exist in Grand Cross, which is Holy Knight Gotha, the Red Strength Gotha. He's absolutely, this character, oh my god, it's crazy good. So first of all, we'll start off with this passive, which is actually it's pretty good. It's alright. It's not the best passive you can have, because he increases all allies' attack by 10% at the start of the next turn if he doesn't take damage, and it limits to 5 times, but resets upon taking damage. So it's kind of like the Eddie Hawk ability, pretty much, which is decent. However, you're not going to be using Gotha. Well, you're going to be using Gotha in death matches. Sorry. But yeah, he's just it's alright. The passive could be better. Well, not could be better. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. But the reason why this passive is actually not too bad is because what people do is they run full defense gears with this Gotha, and on the gears that give defense stats, they re-roll for resistance, so that he basically has so much resistance that he doesn't take damage, so that he can just get this passive to pop off and basically make it so you do a lot more damage, which is why it's good. But that's pretty late game, so I wouldn't really recommend doing that right now. Now moving on to his attack card, Memory Arrow. This is really handy. It's a very good card for PvP, and it does an alright amount of damage just because it's AoE. Now the reason why this card is good, because on the level 2 and 3 it disables attack skills for 1 to 2 turns, and oh my god, that is crazy. Just because how many attack card characters there are, especially because this counters Jericho, it counters Merlin, it counters Barn, it counters Gallant, it counters Meliodas, counters his attack card. Basically it counters a lot of characters, especially the top PvP characters like Barn, Merlin and Jericho, because it means that Jericho can't do high damage output, Merlin can't take away ult gauge, and Barn can't do a good amount of AoE damage. So it's very, very helpful, and it's going to win you a lot of games. Next, moving on to the skill which literally makes him the best character in the game, Invasion Arrow, which can increase skill ranks of one ally, of all allies, and basic stats by 20% for 3 turns, which is very good. Now, this card is the best card that you can have in the game at the moment, in my opinion, just because increasing skill ranks is so helpful. The difference between a level 1 to a level 2 is insane. The difference between a level 2 card and a level 3 card is literally insane. It's so good, because I think I played against a team that had a green barn on it. He did a level 3 snatch and attack card, and I got 1 shot. My whole team just got team wiped. If you did that with a level 2, my unit probably wouldn't have lost half the health, which is kind of crazy. So it is really good. That's why this character is so good, and makes him good for literally all the deathmatch raids. Makes him really good for PvE farming, PvP as well. And it just makes him literally so good, and that is why I should probably just make a tier just for Gotha himself. But that is why he is literally the best character in Grand Cross at the moment. So moving on to the final character, we have Merlin. Now this Merlin is literally the same as this Gustav right here, being that she disables recovery skills, freezes, and inflicts 80 to 200% additional damage for 1 to 2 turns, and has the same ultimate as the green Merlin, but her passive is different to the Gustav, which because her pierce rate increased by 10% per each ultimate move gauge orb, and increased by 50% once it's fully filled. However, in my opinion, I feel like Gustav's passive is actually better, because what you can do is on his attack gears, like the ones that give attack related stats, you reroll pierce rate on him, which makes it so that because with his passive he can decrease all enemies' resistance by the value of his pierce rate, so which is very helpful on red demon, because it means that your allies can do a lot more damage. However, Merlin's basically means that she can do more damage, even though she isn't the damage dealer, which is why I think the Cryo Diffusion is actually better than Merlin's passive. So, which in my opinion makes Gustav better. But I mean, the only reason why you would run Merlin over Gustav is if you're like struggling to CC, or like just because of the fact that she's a red unit and Gustav is a green unit, so Gustav will take more damage from red demon if you get unlucky and aren't able to freeze the red demon. So yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much Merlin. She's literally the same as Gustav, but just has a different passive ability and a different ultimate. Gustav's ultimate is also AoE, which could be seen as a better thing, I don't really know, but her ultimate is better for red demon, to be honest. So, but she is still on the same level as Gustav. None of them are really better than each other. It doesn't really matter who you're on. I just prefer Gustav just because of his passive being better. So yeah, that's pretty much the update to the tier list. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I'm trying to think of any other changes. Thinking of putting not you. Thinking of putting Arthur up to S tier. This is tempting. That's only tempting to do. I think. Yeah, I'm gonna put Arthur up to S tier just simply because of the release of Gallant. Because with Arthur, if you boost the Gallant's attack is going to be hitting extremely hard. So that's why Arthur's going to be a lot more popular in PvP right now. So it's going to be very good. And I really want to get my Arthur to 7 just so I can run these two together, which is going to be really good. So yeah, that's been it for the tier list. Let me know what you would change in the comments below if you would change anything, or you might fully agree with this, but I highly doubt that. So yeah, that's been it for the video. I think this is a decent tier list. But again, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I've been Plays. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.